Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 227 of the Civil Gore podcast. I was just thinking
you almost forgot what podcast we're recording, didn't you, there for a second?
I was thinking of, what was that show? Was there something 227?
Oh, yeah, with Jackie O and Marla.
With Jackie, yeah. It
227.
just like flashed in my mind when I heard that. That's showing my age, but yeah, I am your host,
now
Tim.
You threw yourself off by the number of the episode. That shows that, like, Tim and I are getting old.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, I'm literally turning 50 this year, just as from the day we're recording this. It's a few days away. So, Tim, I think you still have a little ways to go. But, yeah, so, the episodes may start to get a little more senile as the years go on here. We're not Kim and Ket. We're not, like, some youngins here. We're getting old.
I mean, you're already used to us telling the same stories over and over.
Right?
So you should be used to it by now.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good. But anyway, yes, Tim is right, though. This is the Civil Gore podcast. It is episode 227, so he got his facts right. May took him a second to get there, but we got it.
Yeah.
And this is Brian. I still remember my name, so that's good. We're 2 for 2 on that. And actually, Tim, I am enjoying. Normally, I have a beer during the podcast, or sometimes it'll occasionally be like tea. But today, I am having our official drink of New Jersey HorrorCon here. I'm having a whiskey sour.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I just brought out my typical house beer, which is a Bell's Two Hearted.
Oh, I love Bell's. Yeah.
That's a solid go-to choice. And Costco had the 2-case packs on sale,
nice,
so I just
nice.
grabbed those. So I got plenty of well-stocked house beer here.
Yeah, Bell's for house beer is like, it's not your like house beer. That's like the next level up house beer. Like, I love Hop Slam. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Two Hearted is good, and there's another one they make. I always forget the name of it, but I like that too. Yeah, Bell's is good. Cincinnati John used to tell me about Bell's. He was the one that first told me about Hop Slam, actually.
Yeah, like house beer is like Corona. Or
right.
like Miller Lite or something. That's like house beer.
That's like basement house beer.
That's like cookout. Hey, go grab a beer, man, while we're on the grill. But yeah, this is like my step up for my friends who actually are kind of a little notch up.
Like if Julie and I came, you'd have to have that level of house beer. I think,
at least like minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum. Now, if you and Julie came, I would definitely have some better stuff. But
yeah, we expect some new anthem, you know.
Because
we like the upper echelon of beer. But and you know, speaking of beer, you know, Tim, it looked like that you were about to run away with and pretty much get yourself a free case of local New York beer now. But the Rangers have come back from 2 games down, and now the series is tied 2-2.
Now it's getting interesting. I thought
exciting.
I was kind of sitting here easy about it. I was like, oh, we're just running away with this thing. But now
I know. I pictured Tim like on that episode where I think it was Elaine kept betting that she was never going to go backslide with Putty, and they just keep cutting to Jerry Seinfeld. Remember, with the cigar in his mouth, going She keeps paying him. That's how I pictured Tim this week as he looked at the scores of the game and saw that he was up 2-0. But my New York Rangers, with their new hashtag "No Quit New York," has been come back, and it's been actually one hell of a series. So yeah, so Civil Gore meets hockey in a fun way. This hope you guys saw that little thing.
Do you ever wonder if this stuff is rigged? Like, do you ever think that they just drag it out because the more playoff games they have, the more money they're making?
You know what? No other sport but the NHL, I swear to God. I believe that. And I know people say, well, you're just a Ranger fan. But you know, they do have a point when I do complain about that, because the Rangers actually are one of the bigger markets. But NHL always likes a story. I don't think they're doing it in this case this year, but there was one year where first it was Buffalo had got their new logo. The Buffalo Sabres got their new logo, and there's a really cool jersey. And so that year, when they got their new jersey, it was out of the top 10 selling jerseys, they had 4 of their players in the top 10 selling jerseys, okay? And so everyone wanted this cool new Buffalo Sabres jersey and all their players, and they happened to be really good that year, and they made the playoffs. Well, in the first round, the Rangers were playing one team. The Islanders, who I despise, were playing the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. And so I kept watching that game. I really didn't care because I hated both teams. However, I was watching. I'm like, Buffalo is getting away with a lot of weird calls in this game. I said the Islanders are getting screwed. And for me to admit the Islanders are getting screwed, there has to be some blatant change. I mean, there was some different rules in the NHL back then. There was a lot of weird I mean, you're not a big hockey fan. I know probably a lot of our listeners are not. So I'm going to try and keep this brief to not have you guys all turn off before we even get to the first chop. But so there used to be a rule in hockey where anytime like a player's skate was in the blue crease in front of the net, in the blue paint in front of the goalie's crease, no matter what, even if it didn't interfere, they would call back the goal. And it was kind of getting ridiculous. And especially that year, I think I saw the Islanders lose about 4 goals on that in the series. And basically kind of cost them the series. And I was like, wow. And then the Rangers played Buffalo, and the Rangers got a few goals taken away. So I'm like, I said, that's what I really, that year, I'm like, okay, come on. That's a bad coincidence. But, it's like, the best selling jerseys of the year. And then this team is now going to the good, but they lost, I think, before they made they think they lost the conference finals. They didn't make it to the Stanley Cup that year, I don't believe. But besides that, yes. So to answer your question, yes. But I think also almost every team feels their team is hated against.
Yeah.
But there's actually a running joke in New York that Boomer Esiason, which, of course, Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, great. But he also, one time was a Jet quarterback, but he also happens to be a die-hard Ranger fan, and he had a running joke all the time. Whenever a call would not go their way, he goes, the NHL put out there, screw the Rangers button. Like that Staples button.
Yeah.
So they actually have like a memes. If you look online, you'll see it's like a button that says screw the Rangers, and it looks like the Staples button. So it's become a joke amongst Ranger fans.
It's funny that every sport's that way too. Like I've heard it claimed about pro basketball.
Remember that actually basketball did kind of happen. Well, they couldn't prove it, but remember the guy did bet on the referee did bet on games while that he was reffing. So that's a little,
come on.
Yeah. But
there's too much money to be made.
Right, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of like more of a little joke now. But this series, actually, I do believe that actually it's a really good series so far. I thought, I knew the Rangers were going to have a uphill battle because Carolina's was the number 1 team in their division, second in the conference. Really, there's no doubt that they have talent. Half of them are. It's funny, like there's about 6 or 7 former Rangers on that team, no less. But but yeah, so I knew it was going to be a thing. And once it went down 2-0, I'm like, you know what? Rangers are still young, really young. They have I think they might be the youngest team in the NHL right now. So I knew they were going to be had an uphill battle. So it went down, but I'm like, you know what? It's never over in a series like that till you lose your first home game. And the Rangers won their first 2 home games. So now, and I don't know if you saw, once again, I'm still like, people are like, all right, what podcast did I tune into here? But real quick, so it's just Carolina, actually, the Rangers have a record actually going on right now. Carolina does, because I think it's like they're 1 away from the most, or they might have just tied it, the most consecutive games where the home team won. Because in the first series, Carolina beat Boston. They won all 4 home games, lost all 3 road games. And now, so far, they won both 2 home games and lost both 2 road games. So it's like they're 6-0 at home and 0-5 on the road. Oh my gosh! So it's like, yeah. So it's kind of funny what's going on there. So tomorrow night's a big game. Now it's Game 5. So Tim and my beer little bet for fun. I mean,
I may actually have to watch a hockey game now.
I know you may have to watch to see if you need to like put little money aside there for that. But either way, most likely, it's so funny because the way Tim and I are anyway. Most likely, if Julie and I drive down there, we'd probably bring in you a case of beer anyway. For God's sake, from local beer. So Tim and I are friends just like that. We're such good friends with that kind of stuff. But you guys are probably had it now at this point with hockey talk that's dominated the first 8 minutes of a horror podcast.
So let's get into some horror.
Yeah. Let's get in there, Tim. You do your opening here with the with the first chop.
All right, everybody. This is our first chop. All right, so Brian, I'm going to do this one first. I introduced Joshua to Creepshow.
Nice.
He finally got to see Creepshow. He loved it. His favorite segment was when Stephen King got turned into the plant thing, the meteor.
The meteor shit.
Yeah, meteor shit. So Jordy Verrill, that was his favorite. And his second favorite was, of course, the crate, which is my personal favorite.
Yep.
with the great Adrienne Barbeau and Fluffy. So, but he had a blast with it. He loved it. It wasn't too scary for him. It was kind of funny, like he's being a critic the entire time. He's like, well, the first segment wasn't that great, and I'm like, what's
he didn't like that? That's funny. I love that one with the
Bedelia.
I want my cake.
Yeah, it's just funny watching somebody in real time that's never seen this movie that I've seen probably 30 times at least.
And if you think about it, I mean, yeah, there's a bit, it's definitely adult content. So you wouldn't say it's a true gateway horror film for a young lad. But I have to say though, as far as like that next level of gateway horror, I think that's a perfect choice because that is a fun, very comical at points. Very, even with the gore is silly, but the Crate happens to be, I think, the most like close to like a good horror story, that doesn't have any kind of like a little bit of silliness to it kind of thing. So
and it's mostly language. I mean, really mostly language. I mean, I think there are some occasional sexual references like in dialogue, but that kind of stuff.
With the water zombie one, there's some obviously the sexual context of the infidelity in there is in there, but
there's nothing explicit really.
Right. It's never done explicitly. What do you think? Curiosity, because I always remember one of my all-time favorites when I was younger too was the cockroach one with E.G. Marshall. How do you feel about that one?
Oh, he loved that one. But of course he was like, man, that's so fake when they were showing the effects at the end because kids these days they've grown up on CGI, so everything practical looks fake to them. But right. And of course, obviously it's 80s effect. Although we love them because of the nostalgia. To kids these days they kind of come off a little cheesy, but he still loved it regardless. So,
oh, nice. I'm glad he liked that. That's a fun movie. Are you going to show him? I mean, that one, the second one is a little bit more, I think, adult.
I decided. I told him. Well, I didn't even tell him about Creepshow 2 because I didn't want him begging for it. Because I just remember the first segment where the blob and there's a lot of nudity there, and
the third one too. Yeah, the first one has the like cigar store Indian. That's a really gory one. The second one definitely went more exploitive, I think.
Then the third one has some really adult, like sexual dialogue type stuff. Right?
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I can't do that. So it'll be a few years before he gets to watch Creepshow 2.
I bet you though, you can show him the Shudder series. That hasn't been. I don't think that's been that bad.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I don't think that's been bad at all.
You could probably show him that. I bet. Yeah. Oh, and then you can get him into start with Tales from the Crypt. He's got a whole lifetime of good horror ahead of him now.
The other thing I watched was one I've been meaning to watch for a long time, and that was Candyman, the new Candyman.
Yeah, I liked that one. That was good.
Yeah, I liked it. I had one slight problem with it. Number one, I will have to say it was beautifully shot and directed.
Right, yeah.
I thought it was just stunningly shot and directed. I loved all of that. The only complaint I had was, and I don't know if you want to call it a complaint, was I wish it was about 30 minutes longer.
It was short, wasn't it? It did seem short.
It ran 90 minutes, and I thought the pacing and stuff was so good for the first half of the movie. And then I felt like, for some reason, I just felt like it was rushed. The ending, just the second half of the movie felt rushed to me. And it bothered me because I was so enjoying being in that world that had been established with the first half of the movie that I just felt the second half just didn't do it for me because it was kind of rushed. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved the message behind it. I loved what they did with the lore and the callbacks to the first movie and stuff. I loved all that part. So there was definitely more that I loved than I didn't. But that was the one piece that I wish it had done. I wish it just expanded out a little bit longer, been a full 2-hour film, and they had given it time, that second half time to breathe a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll probably go into more depth with all those because I think that's it's where you have that earmarked for a future summer slacation.
Yeah,
because that's a great one to do because it's 4 films now. It's a nice 2 and 2 we can do.
And I listened to the Kim and Ket episode because I was holding off listening to that until I watched the movie because that one I did not want spoiled. And I know they mentioned that they liked it better, or whoever, I can't remember if Kim or Kat did the narration, but she had mentioned that she liked it better on the second viewing. And I'm curious to see if that holds true in my case as well, that I like it better the second time.
Yeah, well, that one also, that's one of those ones that have the potential and disappointment because it was a lot of build up, a lot of mystery behind it leading in, but there was a lot of excitement for it. And then I think it got that right. It was one of the ones that unfortunately got delayed for a while because of the pandemic. And so there was that always tends to kind of alter a possible first viewing at that point. A lot of stuff I remember was like, it's hard when you were craving new content during that time and everything was getting pushed back. And,
Yeah.
So it was hard. But yeah, no, I think we definitely should do that. I mean, I know what we have planned for this summer staycations, we've yet to announce, but it's coming up close. Just realize how close it really is at this point, a couple of weeks away.
And with what we're doing, we better start watching them now.
I know, really. Seriously, we're struggling already. Like as Tim says, we have a slight change to one of our segments because of we realize it's getting tough. Although I managed to watch a ton of stuff I don't know how. I think maybe because I was just like more. Yeah, you know what it was? At one point, I think the medication that they had for COVID made me like more awake. I felt like I had more energy during it. Most people are like saying, "Oh, I can't get out of bed. I'm so tired." But I think the medicine I took for it like ended up giving because I was up later and I was.
You're like
stuff.
Juiced up.
Seriously, I was like, because one of my friends at work who had it also, she was saying how she's like, I am so tired. I literally had to stop typing sometimes to take a break, and here I am like up till like 1 and 2 in the morning. Every night, and I'm like, it's crazy. But yeah, no, we'll go into that in more detail. So I guess I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Did you have more on it or?
No. I mean, I think we're gonna save, like you said. I think we'll save it for a future summer staycation. My deep dive thoughts into it, but I enjoyed it, and like I said, I thought it was just really well directed and shot. I thought it was kind of a beautiful film. But yeah, my complaints are minor. I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Nia DaCosta did a great job. So I watched a bunch of stuff. So one of the first things I'll do, and it's funny because I did it kind of in order on purpose because the first thing on my list I led to watching the second one. So there is once again Shudder came out with just an absolutely must-watch documentary that they put out there. And it's called The Found Footage Phenomenon. And as you know, Tim and I are huge fans of that subgenre of found footage films. And it was this was a movie, and what I loved about it is it had a lot of great participants, of some who of course made amazing found footage films themselves, and they just talk about how the genre started, how it became where it became thing. And it's like they get there's actually even a little mini debate inside which was technically the first found footage film, and it touches on all of them. It's like like Rob Savage of course makes an appearance because at a modern day found footage, of course, Hosts took the world by storm. So there's a ton of stuff in there, and there was actually some found footage movies that I in my head I didn't even realize were found footage. I knew the titles, but I don't think I realized they were found footage. So I've added to my list of potential watches on there. Did you happen to watch it yet or?
No, it's on my list. I'm dying to see it, but just haven't had time yet. But it's definitely tops of my list to watch.
Yeah, I think you'll love it. They do a great job. Show a lot of good clips. Got a lot of behind the scenes on stuff of found footage. And yeah, it's really great. And that led me to one of the ones that I saw on this, and it of course happened to be right on the streaming service of requirement, Tubi, and that was Hate Crimes, which I don't know. Have you heard of that movie?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I have to say, I've seen things, and I'm not trying to overhype this up, but this probably may be up there as one of the more disturbing films I've ever seen. And wow. I mean, it was well done, but I think it was just part of it may be the current climate of today that's going on made it even worse. It's basically the director was Jewish, but it's basically about this family that's found footage style. It's about a family that moves into a new neighborhood, and they are accosted by these 3 neo-Nazis. And let me tell you, this is absolutely within 2 minutes, this movie kicks in and does not even ease you into any kind of brutality. It's within 5 minutes, my jaw's on the floor. I'm dropped with this just one horrific scene after another. I mean, I'm not going to go into details because it's actually a little bit uncomfortable for me even to be repeating some of the scenes that happen in this movie. I will just say it was well done in the point of what it was trying to make its point across, But it was like, I mean, I think it has a little bit of a reputation of being that too. And I've seen some people say, "Oh, it's so phony, it's so fake, and everything." But you have to look almost past that and see what the topic is about. And if you just think of the core thing about a family just persecuted and tortured because of their belief, and then you see what's going on in society today, and you hear just the last week alone is so traumatic in real life. That to watch something like this, it's almost it like added a believability. Like I'm wondering if I think this came out in 2000, maybe 13. Let me double check. 2012. Maybe watching it back then, I may have had some of the same feelings as everyone else. Like, oh, this is a little over the top. It's crazy. But what we've just seen in the last week alone, it definitely played differently to me, and it is a rough. It's a rough film to watch. It is like I said, and I'm not trying to overblow it and try and overhype it, but because it's probably not for everyone, and a lot of people probably still find, depending on the way you look at violence in the world, I guess maybe you might look at it saying, "Oh, it's so fake. It didn't seem believable." Well, it was believable enough, tell you, for me to disturb the hell out of me. But so it's called Hate Crimes, and you can watch it on Tubi if you dare. It was directed by James Cullen Bresek. Really doesn't have anyone in it that I think, which also helped the fact, because it looked like a very believable family that could have been just anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I don't and I think I told you I was texting you and Cone and Ken as I watched some of it, and I was just like, yeah, it's rough. Like, it's one of those movies I probably won't watch again, just because it was kind of rough. Yeah. So, but they did mention that in the documentary, which is what actually kind of steered me towards it, because they had such a little segment on it. But the next thing I watched, which is getting a lot of discussion, of course, was Shudder, which is the movie The Sadness. You haven't got to watch that yet, right, Tim?
No, that's another one high on my list, though.
Yeah, it was actually Emily had said she had watched it too. This one, I believe it's from China. There's another one that's kind of like very, very close to it mirrors a lot of stuff today. It's basically about it's in China. It's about a virus that's kind of out there, and it's very obviously, if you start you watch the movie, you're gonna see a ton of similarities to COVID and how this and that, and they're definitely making a statement. I think it's kind of like very, very, they don't hide the statement they're trying to make, let's say it this way. But what happens with this virus is it basically, it doesn't just, it doesn't like attack you, in like, like immune system way, but it basically attacks you into they say exactly what it does, but it basically makes people live out their become the most sadistic versions of themselves, at in violent and sexual deviancy. So, and it is like Emily was telling me, she's like, well, they put this warning in the front and everyone's saying how much gory is, but I've seen so many gore movies. And yes, probably most of us have seen movies that are equally as gory. But I think, again, the timing of this movie makes it even powerful. But I will say, like anything else, it's not your typical zombie film. People are going to put it in the zombie category, probably. But let me tell you, it's a way, again, they found to make a zombie film interesting to me. And it seems like it's just maybe just can't make one in America that'll hold my interest. It's got to be another country. But the lead actress in this was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there were some scenes in there that are just so just hardcore graphic, like craziness. But at the same time, it was just it's very enjoyable for the sake of how bold it is. So, and it's and you're going to hear a lot of people talking about it.
I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I think you'll like this one a lot, because it definitely does not have a Hollywood, it's, not to spoil anything, but it doesn't have the typical Hollywood ending. It is rough and gritty to the core. And, and it's it starts off pretty calm and tame, and then just explodes into nonstop craziness. But I think it's definitely somewhat. I think if you're a typical zombie fan, you may not even like this. I think you need to be like the kind of fans that we are, Tim, to really get the best out of it, because it's like one of these ones that you don't, on surface, if you look at the description, seems like very just normal zombie film, but it's like, like much like more elevated terms of a zombie film. So if you want to even classify it at that, so
So I guess are we gonna do our Tubi Trap now, Brian?
we can, or do you want to do the little housekeeping?
Let's do our little housekeeping first. I
Okay.
can take one, you can take the other if you
Yeah.
want.
Okay. Yeah. You do the first one because I just talked for a while and people are probably sick of my voice.
All right. Well, as you know, guys, we've been getting some publicity opportunities for our various movies, and sometimes those come along with contests and stuff. So we're gonna do a couple of those right now. This one you may have seen posted on our Facebook or Instagram. Torn Hearts, starring Katie Seagal, is now available on digital and on demand. A horrifying tale set in Nashville's country music scene. Two rising artists visit to their idol's mansion turns into a twisted series of mental and physical torment. Buy or rent Torn Hearts and watch it today. Unrated from Paramount Pictures. That one looks very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds cool. I definitely want to check it out. And Katie Seagal, I love. So
yeah, for sure.
So, and next one we got here in a little bit. One, of course, is a movie that has had a ton of publicity, and both of Tim saw it. We both definitely enjoyed ourselves, and that is from director Ty West and the studio that brought you Hereditary and The Witch. Of course, two big films that Tim and I enjoyed. Comes X, the terrifyingly suspenseful horror thriller starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, and Scott Mescudi. Certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Own X now on Blu-ray and digital from A24 and Lionsgate. Rated R.
Very nice. Yeah, I think we'll have more to say on X later in a future episode.
Yeah, I mean, we even could make that possibly a future, just an episode.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think it's worth discussion. I think there's a lot to unpack there. All right. Yep. So our Tubi Trap. So Brian finally broke me with this. He literally
finally three weeks into Tubi Trap.
It only took 3 weeks of Tubi Trap before Brian literally broke me to the point I texted him and said, basically, I don't want to do this anymore. The movie that he got me, which was Zillafoot. Zillafoot. It's a poster of a King Kong. No, I'm sorry, not King Kong. Yeah. That's how bad this movie is. A Sasquatch Bigfoot crossed with a Godzilla, right? Yeah. It's Zillafoot.
You can't criticize the title for it.
And the tagline is brilliant. The beast of both worlds. I mean, that's a brilliant tagline. Poster's brilliant. Tagline's brilliant. It's the only thing brilliant about this movie. What? Brian, I'm going to tell you, I could barely get through this. And I'm talking like barely. This is when I'm talking low budget, I'm talking camcorder level, filmed in some guy's house. I mean, this is a backyard, student film level quality movie. And what they did is, I get it. These guys were probably big fans of kaiju movies and Godzilla and stuff like that. They wanted to make their own spin on it. That's great. What they did is they literally shot the movie and then overdubbed all their lines so it looked like they were speaking a different language. Can you imagine how irritating that is?
No, but that's why I sent it to you so you could tell me.
It's like watching a dubbed movie of a movie that doesn't need to be dubbed, and I can see why they did. They did it for the effect of these Godzilla movies, but it's so bad. It's so annoying. I got it within the first 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get the gimmick. I don't want to watch this for 90 minutes. The acting is. I texted Brian and Steve and Ken and basically said, this might be the worst acting I've ever seen. And I've watched a lot of bad movies, folks. I've watched a lot of bad movies. This might be the worst. Now,
that does say a lot.
Was some of it intentional? I think so. I think some of the bad acting was intentional because they were trying to make it look like these old Godzilla movies. But it's hard for me to tell where the intentionality ended and the actual bad acting began. So I can't really say. Yeah, the Zillafoot himself is literally just a guy dressed up in a costume. There's aliens involved because the aliens created the Zillafoot, and they're in these rubber, obviously just rubber masks. I don't know what to say. It's somebody filmed this in their backyard. They filmed it in some guy's house. This was a weekend thing, and I'm not sure.
So it was like a Zillafoot Airbnb kind of thing.
I'm not sure how these movies make it to Tubi. This should not have ever left this guy's camcorder. It should have never been released. And
it probably came in a package. It's all right, we'll give you this one, but you got to take Zillafoot.
I feel bad because I don't want to disparage anybody that's out there making movies. I'm sure these people put their heart and soul into making this movie. But I've come to the decision that I've got to draw the line somewhere. And you know, guys, we support indie film. We support low budget films. We've done it episode after episode for the last almost 6 years. There's nobody can accuse us of not supporting low budget film or indie film or being snobs about horror movies. We're not.
Definitely not.
But at some point, I have to draw the line and say I cannot go any lower than this. And this is the movie that set that line.
Oh no! And let me tell you, Tim's to draw the line that Tim's talking about. It's like, do you ever, in that movie, Anchorman, when like Paul Rudd busts out the Sex Panther and it like opens up a box and it rises up from the center. That's like the pen that Tim used to draw the line. Like, never thought it'd have to be opened while doing this podcast, and now he's hit the button. It's risen above the box and opened up, and he's now used this pen for the first time.
Like, I can't do it. Like, I feel like there's a minimum level that I cannot waste any hour of my life on, and this was below that level. I'm sorry, it was too bad.
You need to now watch Amityville Mount Misery Road, because I need to see if that's still the same. If you still feel if that doesn't, because I have a feeling that may actually lower the bar further.
Well, I did skim through Mount Misery Road.
Oh, did you? Actually watch it?
No, I didn't watch it. Oh. I skimmed through it. I would jump through it just to see what you were talking about. Yeah. And it's definitely that level. It's definitely that level. Okay. It's definitely that level. These people just took a camcorder or whatever they use, their phone maybe, I don't know, and filmed.
I think it was a phone. I read. Yeah, I think they did it on phone.
Yeah. So I literally can't. So I told Brian, I was like, I can't do this every week. I literally cannot do this every week. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to alternate weeks.
Yeah.
Because I just can't. I can't. I would rather watch.
I should have saved Zillafoot for later, but I was afraid that it was so popular that it might go to a better streaming service. I'm sorry.
Well, the problem is
that's just cruel.
The problem is you're trying to find the work. I mean,
yeah.
All credit to Brian. He did it. He accomplished what this whole Tubi Trap segment was supposed to be about. I
trapped him. I trapped him into Tubi.
He trapped me, and he found the worst possible movie he could have sprung on me. Absolutely 100%. He did his job, and he did it well. And my hat's off to him. And sir, you win. There's no way the movie I sent you is worse than this movie, but I want to hear about it anyway.
No, I enjoyed it, and I apologize in advance because I literally have way more notes than probably this movie ever deserved still, but I think I need to read the majority of it. I mean, I will skip around if I see something in there because this movie is so bizarre. And what Tim sent me is Terror at Blood Fart Lake. So now I will say that thanks to Tim, for once at least, he gave me the original in a bit of a little franchise here, because I think there's a Return to Blood Fart Lake I saw in there, which now I feel like I gotta watch on top of this. But anyway, so basically this movie started with a Creole dude named Hambone, and he starts speaking in the third person to no one, and at one point claims he has a 9-foot dick. and but he says it, of course, as Hambone got a 9-foot dick.
Well, actually, that one line makes that whole movie better than.
Well, yeah, I knew what I was getting into in there, and I'm like, okay, I think I got this one. I think I see where this is gonna go, and I'm kind of in for the ride. I mean, this is what the level of what I expected. And then as soon as he says that, he walks to the deck, and he's promptly all of a sudden killed by someone in a sack who just jumps out of the lake. Okay. So that's the opening. So Hambone's dead. Hambone, who I was actually thinking, I was like, okay, this character will be fun to watch through there, is now taken away from me less than 5 minutes into the movie. So then there's this weird 80s montage with where this woman in a one of these skimpy little workout outfits is training, and then all of a sudden she stops training and starts paying off a guy in a monkey mask. But since it's musical, there's no dialogue.
Are you sure it wasn't Zillafoot?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was Zillafoot, but it could have been maybe Zillafoot's cousin. I don't know. Then it of course cuts to the establishing thing, which is basically a car full of stereotypes, as I like to put it down, which is a woman who talks like she's a 1920s movie star, a stoner dude, and a New Jersey Italian dude.
Oh yeah.
And then a regular guy. Yeah, then a regular guy. And then all of a sudden they kind of pull off to the side. You know, there's the literally, and you know what? I know how bad this is because it's literally the same joke that we used in my cheesy horror movie that Paul and I made, where like the stoner dude guy uses the gas money. They always, and in all these movies, they always give the stoner dude, who's so stoned that you know he's starving because he's got the munchies. They give him the money to get gas. He doesn't fill it up and buys the rest on food. Most common trope in like one of these cheesy movies, and of course he does that. So anyway, they run out of gas. They run up to this guy whose name is Leo DeChampa, and he's got this horrible fake mustache, which is so obviously cut from the fake wig he is wearing, because you can literally see the space where they cut off to make the fake mustache out of. And it was so shoddily put together. So he tells the group that he's going to basically fill up the gas tank, even though he gives them the warning, the obligatory warning, don't go to Blood Fart Lake, which really there's no ever explanation dialogue-wise why it's Blood Fart Lake, but you'll kind of get the reason why as I go on here. But then but by filling up the car, he literally urinates into their gas tank while he tells the legend of Blood Fart Lake. And then before they leave, he just goes, fart! So then, of course, you cue the ska soundtrack because that goes perfectly with every 80s style slasher you see out there. Oh, and then they get there, and then the guy that, like, basically... You know, we lost Hambone, but we gained this guy, which is this weird dude named Caspian that has this giant Jew fro and carries around inexplicably for the first 10 minutes of the movie a pink flamingo on a stick.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. And then he says, he looks at his legs and he goes, but check out my Popeye gams, and he pulsates his calves for the camera, which of course sets up which is so integral to the plot, right? And it's funny, this movie again is only like 90 minutes, but like they pack a lot into that 90 minutes, I gotta tell you. But then they cut back because we did not see the last of Leo DeChampa, by the way, because he's approached by some leather-clad vixen type who is the only person in the IMDb credits that has a face, because so she was also the end. So-and-so, like, starring this person. So, but then we get to meet the characters now. So we get names to the stereotypes. So I'll give you them. There's Zeebs, which is the New Jersey Italian dude. And, you know, literally his whole time he's like, yo, what's the meaning of this? You know, like,
gosh.
literally the most, like that kind of thing. Then there's the 20 movie star. So I gotta give her a little thing here. So most of the time she just does hand gestures with weird, like do 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 do, like that kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically tells her name is Gwendolyn Bouvier, movie star, who her biggest movie was Swamp Sex Robots, and it's huge in Canada and apparently even more popular than Freddy Got Fingered. That's the fact she gives. Oh, and her mom apparently had a 3-way with JFK and James Earl Jones.
Oh my God!
The amount of things that they throw in there just to, I think, to make it sound funny, I will give them props for, because I was hysterical laughing at the weird sequences. Like, who would have thought James Earl Jones would ever be mentioned in this movie? Here's the one that does, like, blew my mind. The lead guy says, "Hi, my name is Ben, and I own a horror t-shirt company named Fright Rags."
What?
Yes, and the guy who owns Fright Rags is named Ben. So they're basing it off of the guy Ben from Fright Rags. I don't know if they did it illegally or they got his permission, or I don't know, but yeah. So then you get Sally. She named herself after Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, and she does a whole monologue about how her farts go directly into someone's brainwaves.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Then the line of the movie that I told you guys, remember, Caspian responds, "Ooh, you think you're dark? I poop from my dick tip." I kid you not, that was the line. But he says it like, "Ooh, you think," in this Caspian way, as you know. Oh, and the stoner dude's name is Snake. Then we get the next girl next door who arrives. Of course, there's got to be that kind of like new character that adds to the group, and she, her name is Ashley, and then they have this really awkward conversation, and all of a sudden she just goes, "Oh, well, I just shit my swimsuit," and then walks away. This is the kind of interactions and dialogue you get throughout this movie. Then they discuss, there's a discussion of Richard Grieco, who is described as a poor man's Johnny Depp. And I said, but can Johnny Depp hold court like oh, wait. full court. Perfect timing. It was too easy. Moving on. So then there's actually a Leonard Part 6 reference in there, which much to Cohn's delight. He's a fan of that movie. So then Caspian says that he's got them planned for the evening because he's got the biggest collection of 35mm films of Ernest P. Worrell films. Which there must be some kind of inner joke there that I'm just not getting, but they have a thing in there. He says including Ernest Teabags Verne. And now, mind you, this is like 20 minutes into the movie we're only at, but I'm going to try and speed this up. But then Caspian goes out and he says, he just decides to delay the film festival for the reason I'm going to read you. And he says, I got to go drop some bowel fungus off in the turlet. I'll be back in 2 shakes. Yeah, I'll be back in 2 shakes of a dead horse's dingleberry, y'all.
I love the term turlet. I'll have to say.
Me too.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, turlet and Earl when they say for oil.
Yeah.
Instead they say Earl. Yeah, I love that. That is one of my favorite. Like, in fact, my friend Dan and I at work, because they say it on Impractical Jokers all the time, so we always go, you going to the turlet? So, and then they finally at this point, we understand what the killer here is in this movie. It's a guy named Jimmy Van Brunt, and he's the legendary killer of Bloodfart Lake. And here Caspian tells the tale. Now, I'm going to try and read to you this for kind of verbatim, but like also kind of compromising because it went way too long in the movie. But so apparently as a child, he would play in the cornfields. Now, first of all, why is there a cornfield by a lake anyway? I mean, anyone knows geography, that just doesn't, it's not possible. But anyway, so it says, anyway, apparently as a child, he would play at the cornfields looking for a wormhole that would teleport him into another dimension where he could live as a combination of Jason Priestley, Triple H, and David Copperfield.
Okay.
I had to rewind that to make sure I caught that right. I'm sorry, I'm cracking myself up. Okay, anyway. So he was picked on by the local kids as they tormented him one day with firecrackies, as he said. Not firecrackers, firecrackies, which is something so out of Kim and Kat's thing. So which ended up setting the whole cornfield on fire. And it says Jimmy, not being too bright, shimmied up a scarecrow bowl and put on a scarecrow outfit thinking it would protect him. The flames engulfed the straw and burned him up. Supposedly he survives and went on a killing spree and now roams the lake, inexplicably, where his soul lives. Caspian says he's going to scream, and then he goes to bed, and he screams, and then slides out of the frame as he's being dragged. Literally, you just see his legs go, whoa, and he gets pulled out. Very, very weird scene. So anyway, Zeebs, which is the New Jersey dude, he gets attacked by Vernon, which now all of a sudden, now that you've told his tale, he decides to come out and start killing people. But he speaks, but it is, oh, that's right. So you know how Jason has his key, ma.
Yeah.
For some reason, Jimmy's theme is brunt. Inexplicably. I can't even explain any of this to you. That's why I have to give you such detail of this movie. So he slices off a Zeeb's finger and kills him. And then we get, of course, he's not like a silent killer either, like you know, a Jason or a Michael Myers. No, he gives you a rhyme. So he says, 1, 2, 3, into the 4. Jimmy Van Brunt hacks slashing at your door. And then he farts and says, corn really is on everything these days, and then laughs maniacally and walks out of frame. So now we have at least introduced our killer to this thing. So now we see what we're up against. Then, basically, Caspian describes how great sex would be with him, and then he sings Eurythmics song with incorrect lyrics by going, cream cheese is made of me, 2 parts cream and 3 parts me.
See, at least this one sounds funny.
Oh, it is. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. This is one of those, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
That wins you over, right? But then it turns out, unfortunately, that it was just a nightmare of Ben, mind you. So that says a lot about Ben, that he has such an articulate nightmare that he could literally have Eurythmic lyrics missaid in there. Well, then you find out, actually, that the girl from the beginning, the one that is like the vixen one, is Thunder Ambrosia is her name. And she encounters Leo, who's inexplicably singing Ace of Base, the sign. It's like they really go through a lot of weird 90s and late 80s pop culture here. Let's see where, I don't know. Then it keeps going on, but then you find out eventually in the inevitable that Caspian, because is behind it. At this point, you've come on this journey with me, so the next thing I'm about to tell you is probably going to sound more believable than it should ever be. But Thunder reveals that the only way to stop Caspian is to have herself inserted into his asshole, where he will be attacked by an Appalachian leech, then pooped back out.
Oh my gosh.
And yes, that scene actually happens. And you get to see it all. And so she comes out and the film ends. So that is Terror at Blood Fart Lake.
Setting up the inevitable sequel.
Yes, which now I have to watch thanks to you, Tim.
That's right. There is a sequel. We know there's a sequel.
There literally is a sequel called The Return to Blood Fart Lake, which now I need to watch thanks to Tim.
Nice.
But I will say this movie this is totally It's So Bad It's Good, because it was so entertainingly awful that like you will not feel like you've wasted your time. But the final thing I want to just touch on real quick, it's not horror related, but it's it's kind of like our thing. I don't know if you know, Tim. I know you're a fan of him, but one of my favorite comedian of all time is George Carlin. I think he's, as far as like there's a Mount Rushmore of stand-up comics, he's got to be like the front and center.
Yeah.
He is one of the most brilliant guys. And this was I don't know if you saw on HBO Max, but Judd Apatow did literally it's 2 parts, but it's almost like 4 hours running time between the 2 parts, called George Carlin's American Dream. And it is like an absolutely incredible kind of biography / showing how George Carlin was so prophetic and relevant to the world as it developed and how he developed his comedy. It was true love letter to George Carlin at the same time. But I think it was just, if you're a George Carlin fan, it can't be more than a must watch than this. This is so incredibly done. Has a lot of clips from his thing. There's so many facts. I thought I knew a lot about him. There's even some stuff I learned from this documentary. But I think one of the most powerful moments is towards the end, where they just run a lot of stuff that's going on in history, like the last couple of years, with some of his stand-up bits that were like 10 years ago, to show how he was almost like prophetic in his comedy and stuff. And it is a must-watch on HBO Max. And they also added a bunch of his greatest stand-up performances on there too. So if you're a George Carlin fan, and he was synonymous with HBO comedy.
Yeah.
You definitely watch that when you get a chance. Did you happen to see any of it yet?
No, but it's definitely on my list to watch, because I was a huge George Carlin fan back in the day.
Oh my god!
Up until he died,
just brilliant.
Yeah.
He is so brilliant. Some of his bits I still like quote to this day, and it's so funny. Like some of his stuff, like so unintentional, fits today. Like we don't even have time to go into it, but if you guys can reach out to us if you want to chat George Carlin. But I definitely think it's a must watch for any fan of George Carlin.
And I'll throw in another quick non-horror. If you guys, even if you don't have kids, go watch the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I want to see that.
Freaking hilarious. And it's definitely geared towards kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s watched Rescue Rangers, and now they're adults and they have kids of their own. Like, this movie was 100% geared towards them. There are so many pop culture references. There's so many hilarious callbacks and throwbacks. I mean, if you were even tangentially a fan of Chippendale Rescue Rangers, you need to watch this movie. It's brilliant. I loved it.
It was that's on Disney Plus, right?
Yes. Yeah. Free on Disney Plus. Yeah.
Definitely going to check that out.
All right. So let's get to our main feature now. This is one that I first heard about on the Kim and Kat podcast, because they covered it. I listened to the episode because I had no interest in the movie. I was like, I don't know what this is. I'll just listen to the episode. I don't care if it's spoiled. By the time they got to the end of it, I was like, I have got to see this film. And I am so glad I did, because it is insane. It is called, and we did look this up to see what the actual proper pronunciation is. It's TITANE.
For once we want to pronounce something right.
Yeah. TITANE. TITANE from 2021. Directed by Julia Ducournau. Hope I said that right. Starring Vincent Lindon as Vincent, Agatha Roussel as Alexia / Adrian, Garance Merlier as Justine, and Laia Salome as Rayanne. I don't know.
Now, Tim, you should know Julia Ducournau, because of course she did that other movie we liked, Raw.
Yeah, and I'll get into that, because she has a way of putting stuff on film that is both beautiful and horrifying at the same time, and that I am so glad I watched and don't want to see again.
Yeah,
it's so weird. I'll read the synopsis here real quick. So, following a series of unexplained crimes, a father is reunited with the son who has been missing for 10 years. TITANE, a metal highly resistant to heat and corrosion with high tensile strength alloys. This is primarily a body horror film, and it has some incredibly, like the lead actress in this. I don't understand how she did this movie. Like,
yeah, she's incredible.
Incredible. I mean, there are actresses out there, like Charlize Theron comes to mind, that does not care if she doesn't look glamorous on screen. I mean, she will do anything to just look as unattractive as possible. Raw, naked. This woman takes the cake for portrayal on screen of somebody that doesn't give a F about what she looks like. I mean, it is, and I'm not saying that from like I don't mean that to sound like women should always look beautiful on screen kind of a thing. I'm talking about just portraying raw human realism.
Right. And let's just say, I mean, to be totally honest, she is a like drop dead stunningly gorgeous woman, like that that through the course of the movie transforms herself in a way that's almost unrecognizable by the end.
Yes.
And and in the beginning, she literally is she's playing a model, I guess a car model. I don't know. Kim and Getz like portray as they do always. They make a movie like it's so entertaining to hear, and the way they describe it, they just say, "Well, I guess it's France." It's like,
yeah, is that a
true.
thing?
It's like, I don't know what it is. It's like some weird show, but they're celebrities.
But you like see it on Fast and Furious. Like, is there a thing? Like, okay, I'll put this out there. I am not a car person at
Me
all.
either.
Zero. I know nothing about cars. I could maybe change a tire. Possibly could change the oil, maybe.
I can watch someone change a tire.
I could drive. Yeah, I could drive. I mean, I've driven. Literally, the only car I've ever owned is a Toyota Corolla. I've owned two of them. Literally, the most boring vanilla car you can imagine, a Toyota Corolla. That's what I've owned the entirety of my driving career, which is 30 years. Over 30 years, I've owned two Toyota Corollas. So I am not a car person. I don't get it. I mean, I understand people have their hobbies, so I'm not disparaging it at all. I mean, I think there's cool cars out there, but it doesn't register in my mind to like go to a car show and look at cars and watch women dancing on cars. Completely foreign to me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't even know if it's a real thing or if it's just something they do in movies. So any car people out there, please tell me if that's a thing. I know there's magazines that are like cars with women on them. I know that's a thing.
I thought that was just literally like like for calendar sake or something but yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, I think I've been to like 2 or 3 auto shows in my life. And I believe the first 2 were there because Spider-Man was appearing. It's like they had like a very unlicensed version of Spider-Man that I think I must have saw in the paper and asked my mom to take me. I did go to the Javits Auto Show. That was a big one, in New York City. And that was cool because it had like a lot of fun events and like, it was like cool. Like it was definitely more of like, hey, let's look at a car you'll never ever see probably like actually in existence because it's probably like $400,000 like for the base model kind of cars sometime, and that's what we looked at, but I don't get the turntable thing, but
I take that back. I have been to like classic car shows, which I enjoy.
Stuff like that is
because classic cars, I think that's neat that people have restored them and put the effort into that I can kind of get. Like modern, like souped up cars, I don't get that at all. I'm not into that thing at all. But yeah, so she's a model. We also find out that she is a killer, and I'm not going to spoil too much about the movie, but this is very early on. There is a sequence, the first kill in the movie, where she kills this guy that is basically harassing her, and I mean,
which was an interesting choice to learn that part about her, because you still don't know if is that her or is it just that of like.
Or yeah,
kind of like
did he,
the situational.
right,
version
right,
of
yeah.
it, or-
You don't, you're not sure because this guy deserved it the way he was like.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of like really forces himself on her,
but
like really
man,
obnoxious person.
when this kill happens, you know what this movie's going to be like. It's hard to watch, and that's saying something. I mean, we watch a ton of kill scenes all over. It was slashers. We watch gore stuff all the time. It's not a big deal. This was actually hard to watch. It looks real. Like it looks like what would really happen if somebody stuck a hairpin through your skull, and it is. It lingers on it. Like is not quick. It's drawn out.
Yeah, none of the scenes are quick.
No.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like everything is methodically, almost like lengthened intentionally for maximum impact of everything in this.
Yeah,
movie. There's no like quick. Like, wait a minute, let me see that again. Did I miss something? No, you don't miss anything in this movie.
No, you watch it to the point of it being uncomfortable to watch,
Yeah,
and that's what I think she does. This director does brilliantly. She did it in Raw as well. Where
how is she not like the one of the talk of horror films, because she's now hit 2 of them that have just been brilliant.
Yeah, and it's stuff that's ugly, but it's real, and that's the only way I can describe it. Like like Seinfeld said, there's good naked and there's bad naked. Good naked brushing your hair, bad naked opening a pickle jar. Well, this director shows you the opening the pickle jar stuff. I mean, she's like just raw, natural. I mean, whether it's a dude pulling his pants down to stick steroid shots in his butt. I mean,
God, yeah, that it's funny. That's the part like that's like the minimal in this, and like that still made me cringe. I'm like,
it's just and it lingers. Like you see everything about this guy pulling his pants down to stick this needle in his butt. And it just seems like such a ridiculous thing to say, but it just these layers and layers of having to watch these uncomfortable situations kind of produce the horror of the movie, because that uncomfortable feeling is horror to you, and it's not just like the gross out. So it's not just like the body horror stuff.
There's very multiple levels like of emotional horror. There's some like these realistic like horrors of the world in here. There's like this is for a movie. If you go in, a lot of times you're going to hear about a specific, which I'm not even going to go into because you probably heard about it in the movie that's connected to this movie. There's one specific scene that everyone like kind of labeled to this movie. Yet, this movie, if you think that's all it's about, you're going to be go in there so stunned on how relatively. I mean, I guess, the result of that scene ends up being a whole plot to the movie, but, like, it's like, I think you're going to get a total misrepresentation of the movie if you link just that scene that everyone talks about with the woman in the car to the movie itself.
Yeah, it goes in a completely different way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different, down a completely different path, which was kind of funny because I listened to the Kim and Kid episode, but I don't know that without having seen the movie first, I don't know that I was completely grasping the story in the same way as I did when I rewatched it. So it still felt surprising to me, even though I'd listened to the episode. So like you were saying, it still kind of felt like it went in a different direction, even though I kind of had already heard the synopsis. So it's cool that describing this movie doesn't at all do it justice. You have to watch it because the visuals and those, like we said, those uncomfortable scenes, you can't describe that to somebody. You have to experience it. I don't want to give spoilers for this one because I thought it's really one you need to see this movie. It's one of those movies. I think we've talked about this before, Brian. It's one of those movies I don't know that I want to see again. It's brilliant. I'm glad I saw it. I don't know if I want to watch it again.
I mean, I may watch it again because I was telling Julie about it, and she wants to. It was funny as I was describing it to her. We were outside, like I said, in an outdoor area, and as I'm describing certain sequences to her with it, like I saw the guy that was like a little, I guess, with the earshot, I saw his head pop up and like turn and look at us like out of the corner of my eye, like what the hell did he just say? When I'm describing something, and I was just kind of like internally cracking up, but because I didn't want him to know I saw him look. But I might watch it. Which I was telling you because I think Julie would like it, so I may watch it again with her. But and another thing too is like she finds, and she's got like the same the lead actress from Raw is in this too, but she seems to be able to tap into like the perfect people who know exactly what the role requires to be successful and to be believable. And so I don't know if she either just knows how to hire the perfect casting director or she has some sort of control. But I'll tell you, like the every role was played to perfection in it. Even that smaller roles, like the guy that we described before, like the guy that kind of deserved it, was like so perfect. You could totally see that guy so believable as like someone that probably would be at one of those shows harassing said celebrity there, you know?
Yeah, like all the performances are incredible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and like the visuals are incredible.
The effects are incredible too, because like there's sequences where I was literally trying to figure out how they did stuff, because it's body horror, and usually body horror to me, like you could tell where the prosthetics are and stuff like this. There were scenes in this one where I was like genuinely trying to figure out how they did some of these, because I'm gonna tell you, this actress is naked a lot in this movie.
Yeah, like I'd say like 75%.
And I'm not talking in a erotic way.
Maybe in the beginning.
Maybe in the very beginning, but most of this movie, she is naked in a very unerotic way, and it's hard.
Very vulnerable way.
Very vulnerable, yeah. And it's hard to create, special effects on a naked body. Let's be honest. I mean, that's hard. Yeah. That's hard to do. You don't have the benefit of clothes and stuff to mask seam lines and that kind of thing. There were scenes in this where I'm going, how the heck did they do this? Like, this looks really good.
This was like a master class in body horror, this movie.
Yeah.
Along with Raw was pretty much up there too, but this one might even top that in terms of...
Oh, I think it definitely tops it in terms of number of like... Raw was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but this one rarely ever slows down and lets you catch your breath in terms of the body horror stuff.
Yeah, and what's crazy is with all that we're saying to this too, there is actually such a almost like a heartwarming story built into this. Which the fact that she could have that come across with all the other stuff is just it just shows it's like I don't like the fact that this thing should I mean I know it got a lot of there's a lot of praise for this movie, but like. I feel like just non-horror people should be talking about it. It's that good. I just don't think it would ever make it to the mainstream because of all the body horror in it.
Yeah, this is one character that you really, by the end of the movie, you really are invested in this character. And it's weird because she's not really a good character.
No, she's not a good person.
She's not a good person, really. And yet, somehow, there's this enormous sympathy you feel for her. And to pull that off is pretty incredible. I mean, to compare this back to Raw, the lead actress in that movie, like, I don't feel like I was like, I totally enjoyed that movie. Don't get me wrong, I loved everything about it, but it wasn't the same emotional connection to those characters in Raw as it was in this movie to me. Like, this felt I felt a lot more emotionally invested in this movie than I did Raw.
Yeah, no, and you do like I think what her portrayal is so like literally. I mean, I try not to use this word very often, but describe it because I think it it sets people up for possible disappointment. But like her portrayal was so absolute perfection that it's like you really are. Like, not only do you find the sympathy in there, but you actually almost can put yourself in her mindset a lot of the times to be like, I kind of get it. I kind of see what she's going through, and you shouldn't, especially as us as men in this, but yet you find yourself, you're like, wow, she's longing for this. She's trying to get it in the only way that she can know how, I guess. And it's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's brutal at times, but yet you still find yourself like so invested in the character that like there is no way you could, as horrific it is, there's no way you could stop watching this movie once you started.
I think there's a reason for that though, and I'll give credit to the director, is that if you watch this movie, like the camera almost never leaves this character. I mean, she is like on screen all the time. You're always following her around. You're always seeing things from her perspective. It's almost like you're within arm lengths of her at all times during this movie, which again, is going to create intimacy between the character and the viewer. But then to see her in so many vulnerable situations where she's naked and it's up close and she's, or she's in pain. And I mean, you can't help but be drawn into that when you're that up close to somebody in that situation. And like I said, this movie's relentless about that. There's very few moments where you're not centered on her or within arm's reach of her at all times. And I think that's one of the tricks the director used to build that intimacy. And it is brilliant. I mean, it worked, obviously.
Now, this probably was not eligible, right, for this year's Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, or was it?
It was in this year's Chainsaw Awards.
It was? Yeah. Why was I because I can't remember it, but was she that lead actress had to have been up for it, right?
Did she? Don't remember. I'm gonna look him up real quick while we're talking about it, but I know it won something. I just can't remember what it won. Right.
Well, she should have won Best Actress. Now that I think, I mean, I still think my original pick for Best was not even in there. But, of course, I've said that was Najera Townsend, and the stylist. I thought she was just so credible. But this one, I think I would have to pick as the best performance I've seen in a horror film in a while, because it was just so like it is. No matter how good of an actress you be, I think you have to be a certain type of actress to be able to do this kind of a role. This is hard. This has got to be hard.
Oh yeah,
I would love to just chat with her for 5 minutes. And,
that's all I would think is 5 minutes. How? That would be my one question.
That would be my question. You usually want the how, what, when, where. No, just how.
Okay,
how did you do
it? Okay, I'm going to tell you where it was nominated. So, Best Supporting Performance for Vincent Linden was in this movie.
Was he the dad?
I think he must have been the. Yeah, I think he must have been the. I'm looking him up right now.
The chief or the captain.
The fire chief. I think it was him, because he was in the movie the most. Besides her.
Right.
Let me look him up real quick to see his picture.
I think he.
Yes, that's who it was. Yeah.
And he was great too.
He was very good.
We should probably make sure that people. I want to give him his due too. He was phenomenal, and he had a very weird role if you think about it.
Very weird role.
It's like you were rooting for him, but once again, and what I like about it, there were almost every character you saw, even if it was a matter of a seconds or a main character in this, were flawed.
Yeah,
and so it's really difficult that you could find more than one character you're actually kind of like. I mean, for lack of a better word, root for is not really the word, but invest yourself in.
This did win Best International Movie.
Okay, that was, I could see that.
I'm a little disappointed it wasn't up for makeup effects, because I thought it was really good. Julia Ducournau was up for the Best Director, which is definitely good. Edgar Wright won that for Last Night in Soho, but
yeah, that's a tough one, because that was so much more accessible.
Best Lead, again, Agatha Roussel for TITANE. I would have. As much as I liked Yahya Abdul-Mateen too in Candyman, I think she deserved.
Right.
I think she totally deserved this, and that might just been. I think that's again one where most people had not seen this movie.
Right. It was a lot. Yeah, we were lucky it came to Hulu pretty fast.
Yeah.
But, I don't think. Yeah, it wasn't one that people were going out to the theater probably to see.
With all due respect to Yahya, he wasn't in the situations this lady was in. I mean,
no, definitely not. Yeah, and this is another one too that we told because we were always going back and forth. Sharing requests of, we were always telling Emily stuff to watch. She's always giving us stuff. And I told her, so she's dying to watch it. I have to say, usually we're pretty on point. Thank God for her that told us the Hatching, because we love that one too.
Yeah, I think
you notice a theme that our favorite movies that we've seen are usually not from this country. They're foreign films.
It does not surprise me in the least, because I've always felt that foreign horror tends to be better than American horror. It just is.
Yeah, it really does. There's something about it.
There's some kind of commercialism to American horror that I don't care how hard. Now there's exceptions. There's definitely exceptions, but there's some kind of sheen of commercialism over the top of American horror that just doesn't strike me. It just strikes differently, and that's not to say there isn't good American horror. There's great American horror, but some of these international films, they don't have that same Hollywood sheen to them, and it makes them so much better. And they're not afraid to do stuff like this. Like this movie, I would be hard pressed if they did a remake of this movie in America. Can you imagine?
I wouldn't even watch it. I wouldn't even.
But
watch
can you
it.
imagine even a tenth of this stuff would be in there? Like, there's just no way.
No,
there's just no way.
It probably would have completely changed the ending. Also,
Yeah.
You know, they would have. I'm not going to say. Obviously, we're not going to say what the ending is, but I guarantee it would be the exact opposite of what happened at the end here.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they'd land a movie like that, and that's just the way it is, sadly. But yeah, you think we could ever get Agatha Roussel on here? Because I would love.
Oh my
to
gosh.
That would be a dream interview, just because she's so good, and I mean, I'm wondering. I'm trying to see what other stuff she's in. She's only been in that's like she was in 2 other movies. It looks like.
Yeah, it's hard to believe because.
She pretty much has. She's one of those now that whenever all I got to do is see her name on a project, and I'm gonna watch it now. That's how good she is in this.
Yeah. She's been in 2 shorts, and this is her first feature film. Crazy.
That's ridiculous. That's almost ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. This be your first feature film, and that's the performance you give? Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's like if everyone was ever destined to be an actress. Like, I hope she teams up again too with Julia Ducournau, because I want to like that. That seems like a match made in heaven. The tandem of that. I mean, yeah, and pretty much same with Julia Ducournau. I mean, pretty much I see her name on something now, I'm gonna watch it. Not even like a hesitant.
Yeah.
Hesitance for that.
Go see it. It's on Hulu. No excuse not to watch it. It's incredible movie. Incredible movie. Hard to watch. Like I said, hard to watch. Not something I'd put on in the background. I mean, it's too intense for that. But just to watch it one time through, oh man, I'm so glad I saw it.
And real quick, that was her second feature she directed too. First was Raw, and then this is her second one.
The amount of talent there is just insane.
Yeah, really do. So yeah, definitely go watch that. Tim and Brian Bob say check it out.
4 stars. Check it out.
This was this is like my highest rating I could give. Whatever my highest rating is, either 5 stars out of 5 or 10 out of 10, whatever it is. It's like right up there.
Yeah.
So
all right. So what do we have for our beer pairing this week?
So I have a beer pairing. It's Mega Extra Awesome Titanium Lager from Blaker Brewing. And once you see the movie, you'll know why we said that. It's out of Ceres, California. So here's the little description. Oh, it's 8.3%. So its hops are the warrior, and it says she's big and bold, and everything else in between. Mega Extra Awesome Titanium Lager is nothing short of the name. Expect a delicious malt flavor and a lingering sweetness to test your palate's greatness. Enjoy responsibly and best served with friends. Cheers.
Very nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, big and bold warrior. That's great. That's a good pairing. All right, so our fan topic food question. This one comes from Cody, and this is a good one.
Yeah, she really gets into our personal lives with her questions, I noticed.
Who is once a childhood celebrity crush that you still have a crush on today?
So now this is when you think of it at the base of it, it's kind of an awkward question because, like, you may think of remember now, it's like childhood crush. Like, we may have been crushing on someone at that time that was about our age,
exactly,
and now as an adult. So you have to take that with take that into consideration when we say this. Now, some of them were also older than us, but some of them were probably like around our age.
Here's a perfect example. Like, I was in love with Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth, but she was like 14, right. But then I was also like 12. So
yeah. And so one of the ones that I was going to give, she was at least older than me at the time, and that was Brooke Shields. Kind of like always kind of had a crush on her from, when I was a kid. And I actually got to meet her in person. She's in a supermarket in Southampton once, and I was I wanted to, because I always liked her on Suddenly Susan. Mm-hmm. But she's one of them. But I'm trying to think of some other ones.
Oh, I've got an instant answer.
I think Alyssa Milano's got to be up there.
Oh yeah. For me, totally Elizabeth Shue from Karate Kid.
Oh,
and she still looks great.
She looks exactly the same.
She still looks fantastic. Like, I was so excited when she was on Cobra Kai because I was like, oh my gosh, I had not seen her in a movie in a long time, and that one's a true that answers the question totally because I loved her in Karate Kid, Adventures of Babysitting, absolutely loved her, and then even as her career went on, as she got older, I was still so that totally answers the question spot on, Elizabeth Shue for sure.
Yeah, I might have to put her in my list too. And she was if you think about it too, she was like Cobra Kai too. When she appeared, it's like they almost kind of like played on the fact that probably they knew their audience, like everyone from that age group of Karate Kid had a crush on her also, and they kind of made her role kind of like that.
Yeah, I love that part of that of her appearance in Cobra Kai because of that. Yeah, you're right. They played off that big time.
Yeah, and Cobra Kai's coming back in September too.
Yeah,
it's like early. They moved it up, which I cannot wait. That's right at the end of the summer when we're like, all the cool summer shows are over. We get a new Cobra Kai, which is just so awesome.
Another good one would be Leah Thompson.
Oh
sure.
Yes, of course, gotta put that one on.
And she still looks fantastic.
Yes. Right, and she
was super
as
awesome.
Great as like when you meet her in person, and she's that great. Trying to think if there's anyone there's probably a million I'm missing because I was a little horn dog when I was a teen. So God knows who else was on.
Well, see, I have a lot that I had childhood crushes on, but I don't know that I would today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the key. It's the longevity.
Because I was totally. I loved Ali Sheedy. Oh my gosh, I'm just drawing a blank on what's her name? Everybody had a crush on her.
Molly Ringwald?
No. Oh my gosh, I could just see her coming out of the pool in the bathing suit. What am I thinking of?
Oh, Phoebe
Cates. Yes, everybody loved Phoebe Cates. That was another one. But then again, like some of those like childhood ones, you never followed their career. You don't know if they did any more movies or whatever, so you don't even really think about them anymore. So I don't even know what they look like these days. So I don't know if that crush would still be the same.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I think I put Alyssa Milano on there because she's, still like the. But I don't know if I know she hasn't been in a lot of stuff lately. She's kind of more behind the scenes.
Well, you maybe kind of Winona Ryder in a way. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like it's like that kind of person, basically.
Yeah.
That kind of and Jennifer Connelly probably for me too in there. Yeah, it's got to be someone like of that kind of caliber that managed to like kind of break onto their scene during our like right in our teen years that like and now still.
Oh, I know a good one. How about Erin Gray from
yeah.
Buck Rogers back in the day?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean she's like 72 now. I don't know if I'd still be like crushing on her, but
yeah, I don't know if
she was like way older than me as a child. So
wasn't she in like Jason Goes to Hell?
Yeah, that was like pushing the extremes of a childhood crush when they're like 20 years older than you are.
Yeah, oh my God, who looked exactly the same as they do now as back then almost is the one Lisa Whelchel from Facts of Life because she was on that like remember they did that like Facts of Life like like. That show where they reenact like a favorite episode with like current.
She was on Survivor too.
She was.
Yeah, she was. She did a season of Survivor, and that's where I saw her.
Yeah, she looks the same.
She looks the
right?
same, and that's a good one because I loved Blair. Like there was Blair people and Joe people, and I was a Blair person for sure.
Yeah, I was a Blair person, even though probably like in terms of like philosophy, I'd probably be more of a Joe person, like because she's like the tougher, more realistic one. Yeah. Blair was like this rich, snooty one, but something about her was still there was like a kindness to her. So I'm trying. I know we're missing people. Like you almost gotta, when you kind of gotta go through. You have to almost go to like those 80s sitcoms kind of thing. And kind of like go from there, like because there were so many like especially the family ones where they were like the kids were our age.
Yeah, like Carrie Green from Goonies would be one, but again, I don't know what she looks like these days. I don't know if she's still.
Well, she was at the New Jersey Horror Con, but not the one we went to. Remember the one we were supposed to go to?
Oh yeah.
That got the big, but then we decided it kept getting pushed away from COVID, and then we finally got back. You know what? There was someone at one of the cons that when I was supposed to go, that I like said I had a crush on, like, but I don't think I told them in person, but I was gonna when I saw them. I can't remember who it was now though, but they were someone. It was one of the either Chiller or New Jersey Horror Con, and I finally got to meet them. I'm trying to think what it was. Was it someone like a? Can't remember now. I don't know. I'll probably think of it. This is a great question, but this is one I think that like literally like, I know I'm gonna like.
Oh, we did get to meet one of Catherine Mary Stewart.
Oh right! Oh my God!
That would definitely be one.
That's a huge.
That would
one.
fit the bill.
Because I actually, you know what? That might be. Yeah, that could possibly actually be my possibly be my number one there because she's like. Because, and I felt like she was so unattainable for so long, because she was kind of out of the limelight for a while and kind of came back.
She still looks amazing, too.
Oh my God, she looks like she aged like 5
Yeah,
years. That's
maybe
it.
5 years.
Maybe
Yeah.
if that. Yeah, that's right because she was. Yeah, because I remember that because everyone always had a because she was in that's movies like back to back to back like right around that time
And
so
she
she was
always
right
played like
there.
the super hot girlfriend. Like she played that role. Like yeah.
Right.
So
Like she's always the one that everyone wanted to get, and like so yeah, I'm probably thinking of there's probably some other ones that we're just not thinking. But yeah, that's actually a great one and it's probably one of the ones that I probably should have it's probably so close now because we literally just met her that it's like off at the top of my head. But and she was and again, it's great to when you like actually get to talk to these people and they're as nice as can be. Like she was as
yeah, that's the bonus. Yeah.
Right, because you never want to like find someone like you meet one of these people that you've always watched all their life and then
Like
they're
total
like
jerks. Yeah.
snooty. I mean, we really haven't encountered that at all. So
Speaking of which, totally forgot to mention in our first shot, I'm taking the family to Carolina Fear Fest.
Oh right,
this
right.
weekend.
Yeah,
so in 3 days, we are going to travel up Saturday. Going to do the con on Saturday, all day, and then kind of hang out in Raleigh the rest of the weekend. But I'm looking forward to that. Now we did have some disappointing cancellations. I don't think Elvira is going to be there, and I think Annabelle canceled, which it was just the screen used doll, which that was really Anna's number one guest. She wanted to go take a picture with the real Annabelle, and that unfortunately may not happen. So, but there are some really other good guests. Clint Howard's going to be there. Daniel Harris is going to be there. A lot of the people from New Jersey HorrorCon, Mark Patton, Felissa Rose, they're going to be there. Scout Taylor Compton is going to be there. That's it, right? Scout Taylor.
yeah, Scout Taylor.
So yeah, I mean, there's still Tom Savini's going to be there, so I get to my my second chance with Tom, and now I've got.
Wait, is it Savini or
it's
Salvini?
Savini this time, not Salvini. But I figured I've got a good in with Tom now because I could tell him about Joshua watching Creepshow for the first time.
Oh yeah,
so I got a good in. Yeah, so I don't know. It's gonna be fun. It looks like I've heard that this is a great con. I've seen great reviews of it. They've had it for about 3 or 4 years now. So I have heard really good things about it. I know the vendor list is incredible. Like they got a huge amount of vendors here, which I'm really looking forward to. It looked from the listing to be way more than what New Jersey HorrorCon had. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it. So we'll see how it goes. The first con with the family. Obviously, Olivia doesn't care about horror. Joshua, he's kind of on the periphery now that he's watched Creepshow. I think he's a little more interested in meeting Tom Savini. And then Anna's like total horror head. It's like she's ready to go. Like this is really for her more than anybody. I probably wouldn't have gone if she hadn't been just so excited about it. So we'll have a full report of that next week. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you back here next week.
Yep. We're not sure what the movie will do, but it will only be one TUBI Trap, so it'll just be Tim will find something for me. We'll give Tim the break.
Yeah.
Of TUBI Trap.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't mind. I'll take the grenades on the TUBI Trap. And actually, I have some other ideas. We'll talk off offline about this, but I had some other cool ideas for a possible TUBI Trap. Like some variances too that might make it a little more interesting also. So like where maybe like once like maybe we'll alternate, but then there's one where maybe like someone has to find like either a listener finds and sends them. We both have to watch.
Oh,
it,
that's a good idea.
That.
Yeah,
like, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
We'll keep it fresh with some new ideas. So anyone has some good TUBI Traps. I already had a good one for you for next week, but I'll save it for 2 weeks. So after you give me the one that I watch, and then I'll save this one for you. But you know what? I should have saved Zillafoot. I really should have, like, to see how it would have acted, but it was too good to pass up. How could I not give you Zillafoot?
Well, I was actually expecting it to be better. I mean, I thought it would be like yours. Like I thought it'd be like so bad it's good type thing. But yeah, alas, was not to be for Zillafoot. But
I wonder if if they're actually ever like they had planned like a franchise of Zillafoot.
There is a hint towards the sequel at the end. I have to say.
Oh
yeah,
no, really?
Yeah.
Is it Two Zilla 2 Foot? Is that the title?
I don't know. But yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you back here soon.
See ya.